Welcome to the 7th episode of Drunk Powerscaling, the show where I hungoverly powerscale my favourite characters. Undertale in Versus is something that has been rightfully dismissed by a lot of people, mainly thanks to animation rewinds, cringe, there's no other way to put that. So, let's take a look today at its central protagonist, Frisk. Now, I will be including Chara, I'm gonna say Chara, as part of their arsenal, as Chara can take control of Frisk's body at any time. They just don't during the pacifist run. If you don't like that I'm using Chara, why? It'd be like not including Zarathos for Ghost Rider, so let's get into this. In the underground, the monster race lived blocked off by a magic barrier from the human world, with the only way they could escape would be to use the 7 human souls to break the barrier. The Mad King Asgore, after the death of his son Asriel by humans, had stolen the souls of 6 humans already. One day, a child named Frisk fell into the underground. Determined to make it to the barrier, they befriend a vast variety of monsters on their journey, all without hurting a single soul. Eventually reaching the barrier, Asgore awaits. Before the fight begins, all the monsters protect Frisk, but another monster, Flowey, absorbs the souls of every monster there, revealing himself to be none other than Asriel, reincarnated, who threatened to delete the entire timeline if Frisk did not stop him. You see, Asriel had a sibling, an adopted one, named Chara, who eventually committed suicide by poisoning themselves. This may sound odd, but Chara was the closest thing to Satan you could get. Their hope was for Asriel to absorb their soul, leaving the barrier and kill every last human on the planet. As mentioned earlier, this didn't go well for Asriel, refusing to fight back when humans eventually attacked him, disappointing Chara, as Asriel was really just a sweet boy, his dust scattering on the bed of flowers, reincarnating as Flowey. And we return back to the present, where Frisk refuses to fight Asriel, so Asriel, feeling guilty, breaks the barrier and sets monsterkind free. Happy ending, right? Well, it is, but if you, the player, decide to go back and do a genocide route of the game, Chara would be reawakened within Frisk thanks to the blood Frisk has spilled, and wipes everything away without sparing a single thought. If the player chooses to reset again, then it will be shown that Chara can possess Frisk's body at any time, regardless of if they're doing another pacifist run. Again, if you want to ignore any Chara scaling, then go for it. So let's go over Frisk's arsenal. Now, due to this being an RPG, obviously there's items that do similar things, so I'll only go over the best stuff that Frisk could bring to a fight, mainly to save me some time editing and to not waste your time on stuff irrelevant to a versus discussion. Starting with weapons, you can only equip one in a fight, and the only one worth going over is Chara's knife, granting Frisk 99 attack points. For armor, there's 2 pieces worth going over. There's the Heart Locket, granting 99 defense points, and the Temi armor, granting 20 defense, 10 attack, extra invincibility frames after being hit, and heals Frisk for 1 health point every other turn. In terms of items, the main ones worth going over include the CT, only healing Frisk for 10 health points, but can be stacked 4 times to double their speed in total. Hush Puppy, which heals for 65, Dr. Instant Noodles, which heal for 90, the Legendary Hero, which heals for 40, but also raises attack by 4. The Stake in the shape of Metaton's face, which heals for 60. Bad Memory, which when Frisk is under 3 health points will fully restore them. The Last Dream, which heals for 17, but can be replenished infinitely. Although there are some miscellaneous items like the Phone, which allows Frisk's soul to shoot lasers, and the Jetpack. Most importantly is Frisk's weird abilities, like the manipulation over their own soul in combat. Although this could just be a representation of Frisk's own movement, but I choose to believe that it is their soul. Their soul gains invincibility after being hit, and both the invincibility window and soul movement can be buffed with certain armors and items. Perhaps their greatest ability is their control over their own determination. Power source that allows human souls to persist after death. Determination can allow Frisk to heal from near death, decrease their damage taken, increase their physical ability, change some weapon properties, and allow for space-time manipulation, like creating physical items out of their own hopes and dreams. Enough determination can allow bodies to exist without a soul, such as Flowey's. Like a lot of games, you can save of course. In Undertale, however, this is an actual ability Frisk can use. You see, due to their determination, they can create a save point, which is the same as the player save in the game. And just like most games, they are revived upon death at that save point. And like most games, this can be done without having to die. In Universe, this erases the timeline and creates a new one at the save point. Now, Frisk remembers every previous timeline, as well as timelines reset by other determination users. And if Frisk's determination is higher than the opponent's, they can prevent them from resetting the timeline themselves. However, if Frisk ever loses the determination to live, this ability cannot be used. This ability is so OP that even characters without a soul like Flowey can do it. There also exists the true reset function. Instead of resetting to the last save point, it resets the game completely. However, this is not actually Frisk doing it. Rather, it's the player themselves in Universe. So yes, technically, you, the person watching this video, is a part of Frisk's arsenal. God, Undertale is so fucking weird. It should be noted that the player in Deltarune can erase save files and copy them, but I can't comment on if this applies to Frisk or not. Another OP ability when Frisk is at maximum determination is their ability to resurrect from death without even needing to return to a save point. It can be repeated as long as Frisk stays determined and will fully heal Frisk too. Frisk also gains a few invincibility frames after being hit, and with the fight command, Frisk can fight. If they time their attacks right, they'll deal more damage. And yes, these commands are still part of Frisk's arsenal in canon. The act command is more for pacifists. There's a lot to go over, so I'll put the different types of acts on screen so to not waste your time. Needless to say, Frisk has vast amount of hacks that they can use. When at maximum determination, Frisk gains access to more acts. Hope, which greatly reduces incoming damage, and Dream, which fills Frisk's inventory with last Dream items, which, as mentioned earlier, heals Frisk by 17, but can be replenished infinitely. The Mercy command allows Frisk to spare a wounded or a befriended enemy, as well as giving Frisk a flee option. And their final command is the ability to save objects and people, completely restoring them to their previous states. Holy shit, this kid's broken. Naturally, Frisk has a few resistances to cover. They can resist salt manipulation, extreme heat, confusion, and resurrection upon death will not only fully heal Frisk, but eliminate any status effects. Now, the most important part of Frisk's arsenal before we move on to feats is of course Chara. Their spirit was reawakened by Frisk's own determination, and it latched onto Frisk. So again, they are standard to Frisk. They'll only show up in the genocide route, and after killing Flowey, Chara takes control of Frisk's body and wipes the entire timeline clean. Chara is also unaffected by a true reset, remembering all prior runs done, which could be dozens, hundreds, or thousands if you're really sad. Finally, we can move on to feats, starting with power. Bear in mind, at peak determination, Frisk is more powerful than everyone in the verse, making things easy for us. They can push a rock, they scale to Sans, who once broke a branch, Undyne once suplexed a boulder, they one-shot Metaton Neo, and Metaton EX can kick as fast as electricity. Night Knight can create meteors and a mini-sun. Frisk can harm a weakened Photoshop Flowey, who had absorbed the 6 human souls. And bear in mind, a single human soul's power, like Frisk's, rivals the entirety of the underground. So for all 6 souls, it will come out to at least multi-city block. At level 20, they mortally wounded and killed King Asgore. And of course, the big one, Chara physically destroyed the timeline and recreated it. So that makes Chara just universal, right? Well, they're probably higher. In the Photoshop Flowey fight, he can save and load 6 different files, which remember is the in-canon adjacent to 6 different timelines, meaning that at least 6 timelines exist within the game at once. Additionally, some characters like the Mysterious Man will only appear in specific playthroughs. This is important as W.D. Gaster fell into his creation and was scattered across space and time, being able to interact with events, which is randomly generated. There are 12 different randomly generated files the player can get, and since Gaster interacts with a good chunk of these in some way, this implies there are at least 12 different timelines existing at the same time. So Chara at the end of the genocide route erased multiple timelines from existence. And bear in mind, there's 93 different ending variants you can get, so this number of timelines could be a lot higher. So with all that being said, Frisk is at bare minimum universal, but given the evidence for multiple timelines existing at once, very likely multiversal, being able to wipe 6, 12, or even 93 timelines from existence with Chara possessing the body. Now, let's talk speed. They can dodge barks from Greater Dog, and capable of Mettaton EX's kicks. They can dodge spears, missiles, gunfire, solar flares from a mini sun, and capable of Vulcan's bolt of electricity, and they can dodge the meteors I mentioned earlier. There are a few laser-based attacks like Sans and Photoshop Floweys, but given they only come out in one frame, we can't prove Frisk moves alongside them. And they dodge Asriel's Hypergoner attack. Some believe that this wipes entire timelines, which would be this speed. However, Asriel's intentions during that fight was simply to defeat Frisk and then reset the timeline. So there's a good chance that's not what the attack was doing. Hell, the timeline is still there after the fight. However, there are plenty of arguments that you can find that say this is a timeline wiping feat. So do your own research and let me know what you think. I'm personally a bit iffy on it. You could also argue immeasurable speeds due to the timeline, or timelines, erasing feat. But again, using this as a speed feat, I can see why some may disagree. Up to you. Yikes, that escalated quickly. Again, it's up to you what you buy. So, for speed, we can place Frisk anywhere between hypersonic and massively faster than light, potentially immeasurable. So, let's move on to durability. Frisk survived the fall to the underground, survived an explosion in Undyne's house without a scratch. They can take hits from Mettaton, who can smash through walls. They can take hits from Photoshop Flowey's nukes, and at maximum determination, they survive stronger attacks from Asriel, attacks that could cause the whole world to end. And bear in mind, Asriel is stronger than Photoshop Flowey, who crashed the game world with his power. Photoshop Flowey also recreated the world, and can physically destroy save files, which in canon means Frisk scales the timeline destroying power and durability even outside of Chara. Frisk can also survive the timeline erasing attacks from Asriel, and again, it's up to you if you buy this or not. Not that it matters when they can survive the potentially multiversal destruction of the game, but when all is said and done, we can assume Frisk's AP and durability are equal due to how many universal feats there potentially are here. So again, universal to multiversal for durability. Well, we're done. And man, I am never covering Undertale again. This was a headache, and I'm sure there's tons of misinformation here. So be sure to nicely correct me. Maybe I'll cover Sans one day. I think the big point of conflict here is Asriel's big piss beam attack, which only really matters to speed since AP and durability have other ways of getting Undertale to universal. So don't worry too much about that feat. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed. Stay safe, and as always, be excellent to each other.